There's a lockdown at my elementary school. Story by a deleted user. School lockdown drills are now as common as fire drills. I'm sure every school or county has their own style or individual protocol, but essentially, it's the same across the board. Everyone is to get into a classroom, lock the door, turn off the lights, group into a part of the room out of view from the windows and doors, and stay completely silent. The goal is to disappear from whatever hypothetical active shooter is roaming the hallways. Without these drills, well, the same thing would happen as when school shooters first started popping up. Chaos, people fleeing in all directions, creating a frenzy of targets to choose from. And more people would die. More children would die. I was, a counselor for an elementary school. My last position was my second, the first being in a hellhole for 2 years. That first elementary school was a mess, mostly because of the principal. He was old and tired, walking the halls with frazzled white hair and wrinkled button-up shirts with no tie. It seemed he was over it all, counting down the days until his retirement. He showed little interest in my role, practically rolling his eyes at whatever issue brought a child to my door. He clearly had the whole "this generation is soft" mentality. Kids aren't depressed or anxious, they're just whining. He handed out reprimands and punishments without any real investigations, and treated the staff poorly. And he slacked on drills. I remember being horrified on my first fire drill there, standing out in the playground in the near-freezing autumn breeze, surrounded by cold and confused students as scattered and disorganized as staff tried to somehow get accountability. The staff and I tried to schedule more drills, tried to get him in on planning, but he could care less. Eventually he was relieved when teachers had enough and went to the board, but by then I lost motivation and needed a change. Where I ended up next was refreshing. The principal, a tall and slim middle-aged man with a square jaw and kind eyes, always wearing some version of a cartoon-themed tie, and the staff here take their jobs rather seriously, almost to the point of me feeling too intimidated to share ideas during meetings when I first arrived. Fortunately, I loosened up over time, and when everyone saw how much I cared for the children, I was accepted. I loved it there. I quit 2 months later. The reason I quit is something I haven't quite gotten over. I still dream about it. I still hear the sounds. The sounds that didn't make sense as they were happening, but came together afterward into a horrific realization. I had been making my rounds that day, checking on my more needy students during their classes, making sure no one was on the verge of a meltdown or anything. I remember feeling relieved to be walking around because I had been sitting in the nurse's office with a first grader who ran and slipped on the slick floor. The custodian was in the middle of mopping. Luckily there was nothing wrong with the child, but I advised the custodian to put up a caution wet floor sign before we had a lawsuit on our hands. I was feeling good until lockdown. Lockdown, lockdown. It was one of the office administrators over the loudspeaker. At first I was just surprised. Then I felt my heart jump and my fingertips turn icy as I realized the reason I was surprised. There was no drill scheduled that day. Which meant this was not a drill. When the announcement blared, I had just opened the door to peek into a kindergarten classroom. When the overhead speaker clicked, indicating the end of the announcement, my eyes met with the teacher's, Mrs. Jameson. We froze, staring at one another for a good 3 seconds, her standing with a pointer in one hand with her class all neatly seated on the carpet area. The students were silent, some looking at her, and some at me. Then she and I came to some kind of unspoken agreement. Training kicked in. We both sighed casually and smiled down at the kids. Mrs. Jameson said, "Well, kids, looks like we got a lockdown drill. Let's show Ms. Vasquez how well we can do." "Sounds good to me," I said as I closed the door and pulled down the curtain to the door's tiny window. "I'd love to see how this class does during a lockdown drill. I might have some rewards if you do well." Then I remembered something. I said to the teacher Janet, "I'll be right back," before running out the room. I had remembered the 4th graders were around the corner from where I was, outside the classrooms and scattered all around the hallway, putting up holiday decorations. I was afraid of